You're listening to The Bart Factor with your host, Bart Robley.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first edition of my podcast, The Bart Factor. I am Bart Robley, the host of this, and this is my very first one. So basically today I'm going to be talking to you about me. I'm going to be talking to you about what it is that I do and why I'm doing this podcast and what it is that I hope to accomplish with my podcast. I've done some podcasting in the past with my buddy Sam Morrison from the Sam Morrison Band. We have a podcast called the Southern Rock Explosion. That's around our band, the Sam Morrison, his band, the Sam Morrison Band. I just happen to be his drummer. And I've also done some stuff in the past with video blogging here on YouTube that is, again, kind of the same stuff. It just has to do with drumming and whatnot and music. But whenever I do one of these things, it's just a real stream of conscious thought. I'm not going to do a lot of editing. I'm just going to throw it up here and hopefully you guys like it. And so today's podcast is just kind of introducing myself to the world, introducing myself to the people who hopefully want to start following me on this thing. If you've never heard of me and you don't know what I do. Again, my name is Bart Robley. I'm the drummer for the Sam Morrison Band. And for about the last 20 years, I've been able to make a living as a professional musician, as a professional drummer. And I do have to wear a lot of hats to make that work. One of the main hats that I wear is, once again, I'm the drummer for the Sam Morrison Band. We tour all over the United States every year. We have been to Europe. We've been to Korea. We play for the military troops for our troops all over the world. And that's something that's very near and dear to our hearts. I also am extremely involved in music education. I do a lot of session work with Sam and with our record producer Michael Blum. I've written some books. I've done DVDs. All things drums and all things music. And so, again, that's what this podcast is going to be about. The first part of it, the Sam Morrison Band. Been in that band for close to 17 years. If you have not heard of us, then you want to check us out. SamMorrisonBand.com is our website. We are a Southern rock band, and we have 3 shows that we do, really. Our original music is all Southern rock related, kind of Allman Brothers meets Lynyrd Skynyrd, Molly Hatchet kind of stuff like that. Kind of old school Southern rock. Really influenced by a lot of the outlaw country artists of yesterday as well. People like Travis Tritt, Waylon Jennings, stuff like that. Just real good, Americana music. That's kind of what our original stuff is like. So check that out. We also work a lot, and we have probably, I'm guessing, probably 5 to 6 hours worth of Southern rock and classic rock's greatest hits. And we've also done, we have a tribute show that we do, and the tribute show is actually called it's actually, the entire title of it's very long. The Sam Morrison Band presents Turn the Page, tribute to the music of Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. The way that show came about was we were working out in Las Vegas quite a bit at a place called the Railhead. Railhead is a Boulder Station casino, once again in Las Vegas, and we would go in and do the show, and in the show we probably have 4 or 5 Bob Seger songs in the set, and Sam just sounds like Bob Seger. He doesn't really try to sound like the guy, he just sings like him. And so whenever we get done with the show, we'd always get requests for more Bob Seger songs. So Sam kind of came up with the idea of, hey, let's do a tribute show and see if it goes over well. And we'll keep the name the Sam Morrison Band because of the branding and the work that we'd already done, but we'll say the Sam Morrison Band presents Turn the Page. And we did, and it's been really successful. And, to be totally honest with you, again, we started doing the show for 2 reasons. Number one, because Sam doesn't try to, he just sounds like Bob Seger. But number 2, it is really a tribute in the truest form of the word. we're very influenced by his music. In my opinion, Bob Seger is one of the greatest American singer-songwriters ever to have lived. His music is timeless, and it's kind of one of those things when you really listen to the lyrical content of his music, you can sit there and say to yourself, yeah, been there, done that, especially if you have a little bit of life under your belt. It's, it's good stuff. So it truly is a tribute to, one of the greatest singers and songwriters of our time. And again, like I said, it's been really successful. In 2007, we got the attention of legendary record producer Michael Blum. Michael has recorded such artists as Madonna, Michael Jackson, Pink Floyd, I mean, you name it, the who's who of the music business. And he decided to come up with a record label called Titan Tribute Media. And it's been really successful for him. We pretty much re-recorded the entire Bob Seger catalog. It's on iTunes. And it has been, we've sold close to like 750,000 downloads of certain songs, and we've been streamed over, well over 5 million times on the internet, and it's been great for us, and it's also been a big learning experience working with such a legendary record producer as Michael Blum. It's been an incredible learning experience. So. That's kind of the story there about how that show came to be. The original stuff, we have 2 original albums out, and we are in the process right now of writing and recording our 3rd original album. And it's coming along really well. Hopefully it'll be out. Sam is shooting for an August release date, which is coming up pretty soon. We don't know if that's going to happen, but at least that's what we're shooting for. Now, I also said a minute ago that and so that's where like the session work also works itself into the story. We do a lot of re-records. We do a lot of session work for music that goes into movies and television and commercial use, and so it's really cool to be involved with that. And again, really educational. Working with somebody of Michael's caliber is really up to the game for everybody as far as musicians, our musicianship is concerned. As far as music education, I'm extremely involved in music education. I have well over 100 private drum students, and I have a lot of people say, well, how do you do that? I don't necessarily see 100 students every week. I see a good portion of students every week, but I have students that are on my active roster. Some of them I will see once every 6 months. Some of them I will see quarterly. Some of them I will see them once a month. I do a lot of clinics. I do a lot of master classes and things like that for all of my endorsers. I endorse some of the greatest musical instrument companies on the planet, I'm proud to say, and I will give a list of those in a future podcast when I do a podcast on endorsements. So anyway, that's kind of what I do there. As far as the music education thing too, this is kind of a misnomer, and I like to talk about this because there's an old adage that those who can do, and those who can't do, teach. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is a bunch of bullshit. And I can say bullshit because it's my podcast, right? So anyway, I think it's a bunch of BS, man. I remember back a few years ago, I've had the great opportunity to study with some of the greatest drummers on the face of the planet. And I remember going to study with Greg Bissonette. And I remember going to Greg Bissonette's house. For those of you who don't know who Greg has played with some of the biggest names in the music business. He is the drummer for the Ringo Starr All-Stars band. He played with David Lee Roth in the 1980s when David Lee Roth left Van Halen. That's really what put Greg on the map for everybody. He's such a great player, and at the time David Lee Roth was the biggest star in the world. And Greg got the gig and has gone on to do some amazing things in the music business. And anyway, I was studying with Greg, and I was at his house, and I'm looking at these platinum records on the walls of his studio, and I'm sitting on a drum set that he had used during the Ringo Starr Ringo Starr All-Stars tour, and he comes in and he sits down and he starts, he's a little bit tired. He goes, I just got back from Europe. I played over there at Wembley Stadium with Spinal Tap. And I thought to myself at that time, this guy probably isn't giving me the lesson because he has to have the money right now. He's doing it because he loves music and he loves drumming and he wants to pass that along. And I think that's really important to understand. So if you're a young person, you're a young drummer, and you're just starting out, know that you're going to have to wear a lot of hats to make this work. And I've had some drum students to come to me in the past and say that they were actually, they were a little bit ashamed that they didn't want to just go into teaching. All they wanted to do was play. And I always tell that story when I get that, when somebody, says that to me. I kind of tell them that story. Teaching is a great thing, and just being able to touch people's lives and help them along their journey has been fantastic. And on the corny end of things, I always wanted to kind of be the drum teacher that I never had growing up. So it doesn't matter to me if I'm playing a show or I'm giving a drum lesson or if I'm, in a recording session, whatever. I take everything as seriously as I possibly can, and every time I sit down to play, I may not be the best drummer in the room, but I'm going to give you the best Bart Robley I've got every single time. That's one of the things that I've kind of hold near and dear to my heart, and try to keep my standard pretty high when it comes to that sort of thing. I've also written some books and done DVDs for Centerstream Publishing, and they are distributed by Hal Leonard. You can find those all over the website, my website, which I'm going to plug here in a minute, but you can find them all over the web. Just Google my name, and all of my books and everything like that will come up. I was really proud that in 2009, I won a Telly Award for my first DVD, which goes along with my first book, both of which are entitled The School of Hard Rocks. And a Telly Award is an award for a non-broadcast video that it can be anything. It can be an instructional thing. It can be whatever. But anyway, I'm really proud to have won a Telly Award for that. So I got to do that. I got started in the music business very early. When I was a kid growing up, my mom was a huge Elvis fan. And so much so that my earliest memories are of her listening to Elvis and always had Elvis on. And I didn't realize there was other musicians. I just thought that Elvis was the musician. That's how much she listened to the guy. So if you wanted to hear music, you listened to Elvis. My father brought home a Jim Croce record one time. And I remember him putting it on, and I remember being really young and thinking, wow, Elvis sounds weird. It didn't equate to me that there were other musicians other than Elvis. So anyway, I tell that story for two reasons. Is because, number one, I'm a huge Elvis fan, and to kind of pay homage to my mom and what she started by listening to having me listen to Elvis at such an early age. Again, to this day, I'm a huge Elvis fan. But what kind of got me into the drumming end of it was my mom. I'm old enough that I got to see Elvis. It was the very first concert I went to. I was about 5 years old. It was at the Denver Coliseum. I remember it was in January and it was snowing and very cold. And I don't so much remember the concert as I remember the gravity of it. I remember that, he had a comedian that came out and opened up the show. And then after the comedian came out and opened the show, the Sweet Inspirations, who were his backup singers, did a warm-up set, and then Elvis came out. And the electricity and the vibe in the building was just amazing. It blew me away. And so I knew I had to do something like that, even at a real young age. I just fell in love. Shortly after that, the now famous concert, Elvis Aloha from Hawaii, came on and aired on television, and it was the first concert ever to be broadcast via satellite, as they said, around the world to live television. And there was, anyway, we stayed up and we watched that. And I remember there was a camera set up behind Elvis's drummer, Ronnie Tutt, and he would be playing, and I was mesmerized by watching him play. Watching him, he had this big blue sparkle set of Ludwig drums, and I remember the hi-hat. The hi-hat would be going up and down, and I remember thinking to myself, my God, is he doing that, or is that automatic? How does that work? And I was blown away by the whole thing, and so to this day, I still, I remember that, and I remember that's how I got involved in music. So. And growing up in Colorado, I grew up on a cattle ranch, so it was a real work ethic type of thing. You had to get up every day and do your jobs around the ranch and everything. So I've always kind of applied all of those things to my drumming career. And so that's who I am and what I've been doing for a number of years now. And, again, very involved in education, very involved in live drumming and session work and doing albums and just kind of doing the whole thing. And and so that's why I wanted to do this podcast, was to kind of hopefully help educate people through the podcast. But then one other very important reason, and so if you're one of my drummer friends and you know me personally, expect a phone call or a text or something from me, because I'm going to bug you to come over here and do one of my podcasts. I think it's really important to not only, I'm a big shameless self-promotion type of person. I'm big on Facebook and YouTube and whatnot. But I also think it's important to promote other musicians and to promote other drummers. I think that's what keeps the art form alive, and I think that's what a lot of people, maybe sometimes, maybe missing the mark a little bit when they make it all about themselves. And granted, of course, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about the things that I do and what make me tick. But I also want to work with my other drummer friends. I want to promote them. I want to promote who they are. And I'm not just talking about drummers here in Southern California where I'm at. I am going to reach out to some of my friends all over the place. I've got some great friends who are amazing players in Las Vegas. I've got some amazing drummer friends back home in Colorado. Just a lot of people that I want to reach out to and kind of pick their brains. So again, if this is something you're listening to and you want to get involved with this, send me a message on Facebook. Send me get in touch with me, and we'll definitely hook it up and get it happening. So that's my story. That it is what I do, and I hope you enjoyed it. That was my first podcast, and again, just kind of talking about me. I know, but I wanted to let you guys know how music, how I got involved in the music business, and what it is that that kind of makes it work for me. The one last thing that I'll kind of say before I sign off is this. I think that the reason it's so important for me to get this out there is, again, I keep saying music. I'm a drummer, and I'm gonna promote, and I'm going to interview a lot of drummers and a lot of drum-related stuff in this podcast. But music, to me, is, the way that I see it, is the most important gift that we've been given. Music is there for us all the time. It doesn't matter what kind of mood you are in. When you put on music, it will change your mood. If you're in a bad mood, it can make you happy. You can, if you're sad, it can lift you up. If you're really excited, it can mellow you out. It can do so much to our emotions. We celebrate with music. When a baby is born, we have a party, we have get-togethers, we have music playing. People worship their whatever their beliefs are. They go to church and they worship with music. When somebody gets married and it's a joyous occasion, there's a band or a DJ and we have music. When somebody sadly passes away, we mourn them with music. Music is always there. It's always around us. And it's something that it touched me so deep. And for some people, I think they just kind of take it for granted. They get in the car, they hit the go button on the radio, and suddenly this beautiful music comes out of the speakers. But what you want to remember is somebody had to create that. Somebody had to write that. Somebody had to go into the studio and record that. It takes a lot of work to get music to the masses. And when you see somebody that's playing a musical instrument, it's much like seeing somebody who is a great athlete. When you see them do what it is that they do, you're witnessing the end result of a lot of hard work. And I think it's important to understand that. So anyway, that's what I'm going to leave this on. I thank you guys for listening. I will be back with another edition of the Bart Factor here real soon. I'm not going to say that I'm going to do one a week or two a week or one a month or one every 2 weeks. I'm just going to say that I'm going to put them up from time to time. And whenever I can get together with one of my friends who's a drummer or a musician or a singer or guitar player, I'm definitely going to do it. And again, this is all just conscious stream of thought stuff. So, you know, I'm just speaking directly from the heart. I have no script. I'm not going to have anything like that. When I interview somebody, obviously I'm going to have certain questions that I ask them, but I'm just going to let the interview go where it's supposed to go and let people talk about what it is that they want to talk about when I do this. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The first edition of the Bart Factor is in the can. Now, if you are a musician or a drummer, go practice. Please check me out on the web. I am on social media, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My website is bartrobley.com. And I would also like you to check out my new website, drummerswag.com. I have all kinds of cool drummer t-shirts on there. And I also have a lot of drumming educational stuff on there. You can get a lot of great drumming educational stuff from my website, drummerswag.com. Guys, thanks for listening, and I will catch you guys in the next episode of The Bart Factor.